Good. Okay, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to Susan and for Naomi coming to me to ask to come and talk to you guys today about my story. Like she mentioned, my name is Matthew McKinnon. I am a cancer survivor. Back in 2012, I was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor at the age of 16. I was in the middle of football. I was playing lots of sports. I was always a very active individual. I didn't really know, what was going on at the time. Leading up to my diagnosis, I had blurred vision, I had nausea, and I had some headaches. Sorry, it's been a very long time since I've kind of talked about my story. I didn't really know what was going on. I was a little scared, trying to just figure out. At first, I thought it was a concussion, because I was, playing football and going through all these steps, and that was back in May of 2012. We went and saw my family doctor, we went and saw a chiropractor, and no one really could figure out, just exactly what it was. And for the last couple of weeks in May and the first week in June, I spent a lot of time at home away from school, just laying in my bed, not doing really much of anything. Come to the first week of June, I started getting a lot worse. I had more nausea, I couldn't really put my food down. And one of the things that was really, looking back, kind of ironic, when I went and saw my family doctor, they offered me this anti-nauseum. They said, it's a really great anti-nauseum. We usually only offer it to cancer patients. It's called ondansetron. And a lot of you might know what ondansetron is. It's something we're given on a regular basis. But I remember thinking back, and that was kind of a funny note. But on June 8th of 2012, I went into Royal Columbian to have a CT scan. They misdiagnosed me with sinusitis and sent me home for the weekend with this medicine. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start feeling better. I'm going to finish my grade 11 year and go into grade 12 and graduate. The medicine, didn't really help. Over the weekend, I had what I thought were 2 seizure episodes. I stiffened up and threw myself back in my bed, and the second time, I was in the washroom and I nearly fell and hit the counter, but my brother caught me. So on June 11th, we went back to Royal Columbian to have another CT scan done. This time, they took a full scan and were able to find a brain tumor. And I got rushed over to Children's Hospital that night to have an emergency surgery. Now, they call it a burr hole, just to relieve the pressure. And the pressure buildup from the tumor was what was causing a lot of my blurred vision. So on June 11th, I had that surgery, and one thing that was amazing for me to, well, not for me, but for my family to see was the support that Children's Hospital offered. My neurologist was Dr. Cochran, and he had been called in at 8 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock? I'm looking at my sister for a little bit of support, just remembering the time. It's been a couple of years. And, he got the MRI, and he said, we need to operate now. And he came in, he was there, to do that. 5 days later, I had another brain surgery to remove part of my tumor. And then after that, I spent 3 weeks in Children's Hospital recovering. I got to meet a lot of amazing people. My physiotherapist, Chris, the lunch cart guy, came by and we made bets on the FIFA World Cup that was happening at the time. And it was really nice to see all the support from the people here at Children's Hospital. I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and I had a lot of support there as well, which was really nice to have going through everything. I got to go home in the middle of summer, and this was all leading up to my grade 12 year. And I remember starting my chemotherapy here at Children's Hospital. I was doing 6 rounds of chemotherapy, cycle A, cycle B. Cycle A, I spent 3 days as an outpatient. Cycle B, I spent 5 days as an inpatient. My first 2 rounds, I spent here at Children's Hospital because, it was familiar, it was where I spent most of my summer. And then I decided that we'd shift over to Surrey Hospital, where I live much closer in proximity to. There I got to meet 2 very amazing people that I was able to connect with on a level that I wasn't able to really with my family. Darren Smith and Lindsay Lorenko. I'm sure either of those names or both of them kind of resonate with you. And it was really nice being able to meet and talk with them. And that was one thing that I was really thankful for. And it was like the Brain Tumor Foundation, which we were introduced to by my sister's husband's cousin, Quinlan and Connor Huff. Jacqueline Huff introduced us to that, and she was another big support for me going through everything. Especially for my mom, who, you get thrown into this, and you don't really know what to expect. And it's people like Jacqueline, it's organizations like the Brain Tumor Foundation that kind of give you that support. I was going into my grade 12 year. I was going through my chemotherapy. I had 6 rounds of radiation. I had full cranial, full spinal radiation, and it was a lot, for everyone. And it was nice being able to have the groups here at Children's Hospital, for the kids just to come and to connect and to be able to make friends and just forget about everything. It was a place that we could just come and be kids. And I say kids, and I was 16 at the time when I was diagnosed. I was one of the bigger kids here at Children's Hospital. I still remember when I was getting shifted from one ward to another, they found me the only 7-foot bed in the hospital, which was a welcome change to the cramped bed that I had at the moment. But it was a life-changing experience. It's one that I wouldn't, if I could, go back and make it different. It's made me who I am today, and it's changed a lot of the things that I would have been doing. I was going into my grade 12 year. I playing soccer since I was 5 years old. I was playing football since I was grade 8. I was going to be the captain of the football team. But for the people I got to meet, the experience that I got to go through, and all the kids I got to meet, I wouldn't change any of that. It really was an eye-opening experience and a life-changing experience. It's something I'm thankful for, but at the same time, it's something that was so difficult at the time. But looking back on it, like I said, I wouldn't change it. And then I went through my grade 12 year going through chemotherapy and radiation, which I finished on January 25th of 2013. I've been out of treatment for over a year now. And just this past year, I was at the Bowling for Dollars for 2014. That was one thing, going through chemotherapy and everything, you lose all your hair and everything, it grows back. And for me, it grew back in stages. I had the focused cranial, focused spinal radiation. So at first I had a patch in the front, then I had a patch on the back, and then the sides, and then the top. It was really interesting how it kind of filled in. But after growing it for a year, I was able to raise some money and donate to the Bowling for Dollars Foundation. And one thing, I'm kind of making connections as I go back and forth here in my story. But after my second brain surgery, my sister, when I was in recovery, asked me, or told me about her friends who were doing the Ride to Conquer Cancer. And, they had put their names on their bikes, on their wrists, on a bracelet. And it was that weekend. It was July 15th and 16th. And my sister, just kind of as a joke, was like, do you want to do the ride next year? I was like, well, I blamed it on the morphine because I really wasn't coherent at the time. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to bike ride 234 kilometers down to the States. No, you don't want to do that. But a year later, after completing my grade 12 year and finishing the chemo and radiation, I started to train. And as a family, we all raised, I think it was $2,500. $25,000 for brain tumor research. And one thing that really blew me away after being put through treatment and coming out the other side, that my sister mentioned to me, was my diagnosis 10 years ago would have been fatal. That's something that really blew me away. Now my diagnosis is a 90% success rate. And that really kind of put things into perspective for me. That it's fundraisers like the Bowling for Dollars and the Ride to Conquer Cancer that make that sort of stuff possible. One thing, again, I'm bouncing all over the place, but the Make-A-Wish Foundation, that was something that was really important to me as well. I got, I was 16, didn't really know where to go. A lot of people go, either to the Bahamas or to Disney World or things things like that. And I didn't know really what to do at the time. So, sitting down on Sunday watching, Sunday football with my dad, I decided I want to see a football game. So I didn't tell him. My favorite team are the Green Bay Packers. I'm surprised I don't have any Green Bay Packers gear on at the moment, but we decided we'd go and see a game. And that was really special for me because I got to go with my brothers and my dad down to Green Bay, Wisconsin and watch them play Chicago last year. And that was really awesome. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Maybe I can answer or in that regard. Okay.